I'm trying very hard to stay on the higher discs. And
well, therein lies your problem.
Yeah.
Trying hard puts you right on the lower one right away. You got to be easy about that higher disc.
The physical pain that I'm in is what's constantly making that more difficult.
Yeah. Well, it is not an easy thing when your toe is throbbing not to notice it. We so get that. But the discs that we are talking about here, this is really going to help you. In the book that you read and in what you have studied about what we are teaching so far, have you run across the concept of the emotional scale?
Mm-hmm.
And does it make sense to you that there is a vibrational version of you?
Yes.
And are you following this new conversation about how from the vortex what you're wanting is making its way into your reality, into your point of attraction, into your vibrational grid?
Yes.
If you will allow it. So now we're talking about these emotions and how your point of attraction is resting in any moment in time along that emotional scale some way. So it's an emotional scale. It's an emotional scale of depression or fear or revenge or anger or overwhelmment or frustration or hopefulness or love and appreciation and all of that. In other words, these are emotional landing pads, so to speak. So what you're talking about, while it certainly is something that you can feel in your body, we want to make a distinction between what we are calling emotions, which are these discs. In other words, we didn't assign someone who can run a marathon without breaking a sweat disc and someone who can swim 50 laps disc. These are emotional discs. So if you can separate the physical pain, which we're not asking you to address at all, and just think about these emotional discs that you're wanting to get on. In other words, certainly physical pain can be the reason that you would emotionally feel less than good, but it does not have to be the distinction. It's possible for you to have physical pain and feel hopeful, just as it is possible for you to have physical pain and feel worried or discouraged. But the disc that you choose will make the difference between the releasing of the pain or not. Does that make sense to you? It's like you have to separate one from the other.
So looking at the emotion separate from the pain and looking at it as good pain.
You see, a lot of people are, in fact, almost everybody that you know is living a very conditional love. So if the conditions are good, they're feeling good. So the conditions are controlling how they feel. And everything that you've heard from us here today is about an opposite understanding than that, because we're teaching unconditional choosing of the grid disc. Unconditional. Now we know it's easier to choose the high-flying one when everything's going well, and it's harder to choose it when it's not. We get that. And it's certainly harder to choose it when there's some physical discomfort. But just the same, you have to accept that the choosing of the discs is unconditional. And that's what we mean when we say get out ahead of it. So is your physical discomfort more acute sometimes than others?
Sometimes, but it's always there.
So it's always there, but sometimes greater than others.
Mm-hmm.
So there is fluctuation in it. And we want you to begin noticing that the greater the physical discomfort, the lower vibrational disc you're on. And the less physical discomfort, the higher vibrational disc that you're on. For sure, we're not kidding you at all. The disc that you're choosing is directly related to the degree of the physical discomfort, because that physical discomfort is exaggerated momentum of a disc of resistance. In other words, we've been saying to people for a while, that if you've got something going on, if you want something and you're not a vibrational match to it, don't worry. The discord will become more evident until you find a path of least resistance to get to what you're reaching for. And so the exaggerated physical discomfort is momentum about that resistance. It's from jumping on a low flying disc, so to speak, and riding it until the momentum becomes stronger. We like it so much when we find a new analogy, and in the new analogy we're able to go back and address again, readdress again subjects, because this subject of physical pain, we've not discussed it from the standpoint of these discs before, and putting that into the equation just gives you another tool to help you in making a more definitive choice of disc. Because it's easy to say, and everyone would understand it, and anybody who's had physical pain gets it and would be speaking it too. It's hard to choose a high-flying disc unless I remember that it's an emotional disc, not a level of pain chart. The doctor says, is your pain a 1? Is it a 2? Is it a 3? Is it a 4? Is it a 5? Is it a 6? And we say, that's not the scale that we're asking you to look at. We're asking you to look at the scale. Do I feel discouraged? Do I feel hopeful? Do I feel happy? And as you start jumping on that disc, apart from the other. So your friends are saying, well, you seem more cheerful. Is your pain gone away? Not really. Well, then how do you explain your cheerfulness? I've decided to make them two separate subjects. I've decided to make my cheerfulness unconditional. Now, it takes a very focused person and somebody who really wants to be cheerful to be able to do that. But if you understand it and if you choose it, we promise you your pain will go away. We promise you your pain will go away. Because it can't exist in this vibration.
Good.
So the question is, I get it. If I could get there, the pain would go away, but I'm here. Well, just keep reaching for there, just briefly. Here and there, here and there, here and there. Cheerful about that, cheerful about that, hopeful about that, optimistic about that. Just keep picking it, 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 keep picking it. All of you could do a much better job, Esther included, of choosing more consistent high-flying discs. But don't ask yourself to defy the laws of the universe. Don't get momentum going on a lower disc and then say, I'm going to go up there. You're not going to. You're going to crash and burn first. You choose the higher disc from a place of neutral vibration, from a place right after slumber, from a place of meditation. You can keep it going. Oh, here, let's talk about this. So you can keep it going. You can practice it more by lists of positive aspects and by rampages of appreciation. But that's just adding momentum to something that already feels good. While in Cancun, Esther and some friends visited another place that they all knew about and had been thinking about. And there were several of them. It was a big group around a table. And they were in an environment, we will admit, it was an environment conducive to feeling good. It was a beautiful day. It was a beautiful place. And the food was spectacular. But we have never seen a group of people milk the good as precisely and deliberately as these people did. Once they found themselves in a place that it was easy to feel good, they just focused and spoke it and focused and spoke it and focused it and spoke it until they were almost in a frenzy of well-being. And their momentum was such that everyone around them, the waiters, the owner of the restaurant, even people sitting at other tables, had no choice other than to join them in that vibration. The power of influence was so significant, you see. So you have power of influence over perfect strangers. You certainly have power of influence over your own physical apparatus. But you got to practice that vibration when you can. So what are we saying? When you're not feeling good, you've fallen out of an airplane, In other words, when you find yourself on one of those lower vibrating discs, you've fallen out of an airplane, just accept it. Don't torture yourself. Don't punish yourself. Don't belittle yourself. Don't badger yourself. Don't blame yourself. Don't blame anybody else either. In other words, just accept, oh, I got this momentum going. Whoops. It'll subside with my lack of attention to it. I think I'll take a nap. And then do, if you can. Do anything that breaks the evil spell. And then when you awaken, don't go back to it. When you awaken, you've got a sort of clean slate for a little bit. And if you will reach for that higher flying disc and then practice it a little and practice it a little, before you know it, it'll be more natural for you to be up here in this good feeling place than down here in this not good feeling place. It will be more natural because you have given it more airtime. But it takes focus and it takes desire. And so, like our friend before who was experiencing such strong emotional pain, and you who is experiencing physical pain, you've got stronger reason than ever before. Or someone like Esther, when she heard the song that Katy Perry was singing about falling from cloud 9, she said, I pretty much know what that feels like. Because when you have been focusing upon things or on another or on an experience that is easy to feel good, you can kind of get dependent upon that good feeling stuff to keep you there. But then you might find yourself in a situation where you have to use the power of your own focus to be there vibrationally. And that's a good thing, not a bad thing. Because mastering unconditional love makes you free in the world. Until you've mastered unconditional love, you got to control conditions. And you're not good at it. Because it defies the laws of the universe. You cannot control conditions. And if your happiness is dependent upon the control of the conditions, then you're busy. You're busy and you're failing at the control. But when you start understanding that there's this unconditional love, so you get yourself in a situation where you got no choice. Because you can't just say, go away, pain. You can't just say, solve the problem, let her out of jail, make her live happily ever after. You can't just snap your fingers and control the conditions. But you can focus around the conditions. You can focus yourself into a vibration that produces around you a whole lot of other conditions. You can get it going. You can get the momentum going that you want and that you deserve. We liked this conversation, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Enough?